What's up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, a Buffalo football podcast brought to you by Amtrak. Amtrak's Empire Service offers frequent departures daily from Niagara Falls, Buffalo, all the way to New York City. No middle seats, plenty of legroom, free Wi-Fi, and no baggage fees. Riding Amtrak is an experience, a fun and relaxing way to get to your destination, the official sponsor of Shout. And man, I am super pumped about this because I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast. I feel like I could probably float this to a lot of former players and get away with it, but this is the truth. Like, one of my favorite guys to cover over the last 8 years since I started covering the team in 2018. I got there a year before you. Mitch Morse, former Bills center, kind enough to join me. What's up, buddy?
Dude, talk about Amtrak Wi-Fi. You can't sleep. I'm sure there's some wild stuff being researched in the thralls of the Amtrak Wi-Fi. So hide your cookies. But I got to tell you, it's a real treat having you on, Matt. I know we're going to talk about it later, but just kind of running into you in the state of Florida was a little bit of an interesting deal. But I've just been a fan from afar and close up for a very long time, ever since stepping into the 716 area code for the first time. So appreciate having me on, pal.
It's funny you say that because there's a lot of times when you feel like you build like a good rapport in there, but like, obviously we're on separate sides of the aisle, right? Like, I have a job to do, you have a job to do. And we kind of talk about that, tongue in cheek over the years. Are there reporters that you're just like, oh man, I just do not want to talk to this guy or gal today?
Yeah, it also kind of depends. It's not so much the reporters at times as it is the situations that you run into. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that people don't understand is that you guys are in the building 4 or 5 times a week. So you're seeing us at the best of times, worst of times. We pick up on nuances with you guys. I'm sure you picked up the same thing for us, like, verbal cues, nonverbal cues. I think I've always been of the belief that everyone has a job to do, like you attested to earlier, and that if you, even when you don't want to, should put your best foot forward, it helps everyone do their jobs. And it's not the sole reason you do it, but it does help when you do get in those tough situations as a player. Like, everyone's got this human quality, especially reporters and players. Like, you're going to garner, I don't want to say favor because that's not true, but it becomes easier for reporters, in my opinion, to report on something that you're going through in a more sensible light, or maybe sensitive light, because part of it is the reporters are the information shares for these fan bases. A lot of these guys, it's what you say is gospel, right? So it is interesting. Certain reporters, you're like, oh, not right now, dog. But I would say for the most part, that's changed over the years. I think players and even institutions are kind of moving away from those reporters and those kind of folks. And of course, there's the hot takes, which kind of sells nowadays, which kind of blows, but it's what sells. But that's the nice thing about kind of the in-house reporters, or the people the beat writers, like, you rarely get those. It's really, you're cultivating these relationships. And I think that's the most fun part about it.
Yeah. And, from my perspective, like, I didn't play football. Like, I got into this because I'm a huge fan of the game. And from a storytelling perspective, it was something that I grew up reading ESPN, the magazine, and Sports Illustrated, and like all the stories behind the games that kind of draw you in. That really was what drew me into the profession. And it's cool because I grew up in Buffalo. Like, I'm a little bit different than some of the other reporters in that, like, maybe come in from out of town. I have a very good understanding of the fan base, but also like the history of the team. And so, to your point, like, I never try to like act like the football aficionado. In a lot of ways, I'm in there on a like information seeking mission, trying to figure out and put the pieces together. And I think like over time you can build that rapport, but it is tough in those moments, like after like big losses or like disappointing moments personally, to have to sit there and answer questions. Like, I try to empathize in those moments when I'm in the locker room, because that's got to be tough, inviting somebody into your house. And, in moments when a lot of times you wouldn't have to, show it to the world.
Well, I imagine during those tough moments, like after a loss, you go to the podium, you guys aren't chomping at the bit to ask those questions that might invoke, emotions or feelings because it's a very emotional game, but you got a job to do. So it's not like you're up there like, I can't wait to get this guy to fuck around and say something that's just going to be, I can only imagine that both parties on that podium in those tough times, it's a tough pill to swallow.
So we're going into year, I guess this would be year 8 for Josh Allen too. He's drafted in 2018. You were here for 5 of those and obviously have an understanding of this team that few do internally. And then obviously watching them over the last year and a half. How much did you, like when you went to Jacksonville, how much did you keep tabs on things? Or was it like you got down to Jacksonville and it was like all eyes on what you were doing all down there?
That's a great question. I was definitely keeping tabs. I think you garnered those relationships over those 5 years, to your point. And I think Buffalo, those relationships are exacerbated just from circumstantial terms because, no one lives 20 minutes farther, away from each other. You get these real tight-knit relationships, even with the support staff. I don't think that's talked about enough. And then I'd kind of gone through it before with Kansas City. And I will say that if the Bills had gone to the Super Bowl, which of course we were all rooting for, but that would have been the second time in my career I would have left somewhere and they would have gone to the Super Bowl, which would have hurt my feelings a little bit. The ego death would have been tremendous. But of course I hurt to the soul for those guys, but you do get, I don't want to say lost, but you get entranced or in the moment of being a professional for your team, right? You want to put your best foot forward. You're also garnering relationships with the team you're on. But I would be remiss to say that I definitely didn't have a huge investment, just almost solely on relationships with the Bills. And of course, my time in Buffalo was tremendous. They treated our family so well. And when I go to bed at night and dream about football, which I rarely do, I am a Buffalo Bill, and I always will be. So it's a great question. And it was hard not to look when we were getting our ass kicked week 3 when we came into town. That was a real bummer to be a part of, but also kind of cool to see the different side of it all. And you'd get these. The fun thing was you drive in, and I don't know what it is about the AFC West or East, rather, excuse me, the AFC East, but those fans are relentless. Driving into Foxborough, driving into MetLife, all those, like, you're getting the bird, you're seeing D&Ds, like kids are whipping stuff out, throwing hot dogs at you. And now to actually see that coming into Orchard Park, because the vans you're in are tinted to a point, and I always sit closest to the window. So you're seeing kids and everyone flick off, and then you kind of see like, oh no, that's Mitch. Hey, how are you? It was kind of like a fun thing, like, oh, fuck you. Like, oh no, Mitch, all right, cool. So that was an interesting experience, one that I'll cherish, but also was just kind of a nightmare few hours for us as a team. But I also got to sneak into the like Jeff Mazurek, the equipment guy there, a really good friend, and our plane broke after the game. So we were at the stadium till like 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So Jeff.
Was that a 1 o'clock game?
It was no, I think it was like a 4. It was a 6 o'clock game. It was an early, because I think it was the Monday night game, but they were doing 2 slots, right? They were doing this.
Right.
We were the earlier one. And so Jeff, once all the players had left the Bills locker room, kind of snuck me in to the Bills locker room up, and they have this little hidden area, and we what we call had a few spicy Gatorades after the game. And I got on that plane with a good buzz. So I appreciate Jeff making me feel like home. It's just a beautiful man.
That's so awesome. So I want to get into this year's Bills team with you in a second, but I want to ask you, like, obviously your specialty, right? This offensive line, you were a part of it for many years. You played with these guys. I mean, Deion Dawkins, your whole time here, you were part of the come up of Spencer Brown. And now we're talking about one of the elite right tackles in the league. And he played next to Connor McGovern for a year. I think Cybo's first year, or Cyrus Torrance. What have you made of the job that Aaron Cromer has done with this group and just the continuity there, which started with you? I mean, that last season you were here, you guys, I don't think anybody missed a snap that season. It was pretty crazy. What do you make of the way this thing is kind of taken shape, considering where things were when you first got here. And in a lot of ways, maybe people don't remember this, like you were signed to be the guy to really stabilize this group. And you did that over the course of your career, and now where it sits today.
Yeah, I think Chrome has done such a good job of finding the strengths of every one of those players and playing to that. And you hear that in this broad term, and it's somewhat subjective, right? But everyone can get to, like, everyone biomechanically is built differently, gets in stances differently, their point of power is different. But if everyone's getting to the same spot, is on the same page, and that also includes the receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, there's no gray area in the run game, which it frees up everyone, the running backs, the offensive line for sure. The guys that they have bought into what Cromer's preaching, right? His techniques. And once you do that, you kind of see the success that's come with, it's easy to sell into. A guy who I thought played really well, and I want to give his flowers because Spencer was out. I thought Vandy did a very good job. I thought Ryan Vandenmark's one of those guys that's kind of the epitome of a guy coming in Buffalo. What they want to do is they preach. They want to bring guys in. They want to nurture them. They want to give them an opportunity, compete, and then let their showcase their talent. Which Vandy had that opportunity last year versus the Chiefs, I believe, when Spencer was out. But I really like how they play. I've always been a big fan of David Edwards. I don't think he gets enough flowers for what he's done. Connor stepped in and played a tremendous role as a center. Got that Pro Bowl nod, and rightfully so. I mean, if he got a contract extension, that wouldn't surprise me in any means. Dion is aged like fine wine. You know what I mean? He gets older and wiser, and those calves, they stay about as thick as a tree trunk, dude. And, I think one thing about Dion that's unique is that when he's got stuff going on off the field, he thrives. He's got stuff going off the field, he thrives on the field, which isn't the case for everyone. And Chrome is awesome about firing guys up when he needs to, taking the hands off the reins when he needs to, and in game might be one of the best coaches. And that's how I judge coaches is you can be a great coach on practice fields. You can have a calm demeanor, but when the bullets are flying, is that going to translate over? And it absolutely does with Chrome. So I think it's just an offensive lineman's dream to play for him. And those guys have really responded. And to your point, are playing super cohesive. The injury thing is an anomaly to a certain extent, but also when guys are on the same page doing the same technique, that helps, right? That really does, keeping guys off. And there's certain things you can't control, like guys falling down and stuff. But I think it's one of those things that hopefully continues. You can only pray for it, to be honest. Some of it's circumstantial, but it really, as you can tell, really does make a difference.
Not to put you on the spot, but do you have a specific example of that, like in a game a memory that you can remember where Aaron Cromer did something that was different that most coaches don't do, that maybe helped you in a way that maybe if that doesn't happen, I don't want to say a different outcome, but maybe you're not in the same mental headspace the rest of the game or some type of situation like that?
Totally. I can think of the first game I had with Chrome, which was the season opener versus the Rams in 2022. It was the first drive. I think we kind of methodically went down and scored. One of those first third downs, like I whiffed super hard on my block. I did not do any of the stuff that he coached. I went into panic mode and, of course, got beat. Josh eluded and came off and tossed it. And it was in the back of my mind the whole time, like, man, I'm going to get – this is exactly what he told me not to do. I did it, and I fucked up. And thank God Josh Allen's our quarterback. I get off the field, and I get to Crum. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry for this. This is what I should have done. He's like, you know what, buddy? You're going to crush it next time. Sometimes it takes these moments to learn, and you'll do great the next time. And it was a totally freeing moment. Like, yes, I might get coached hard after the game, but that's going to happen after the game. He's giving me the reins. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I did wrong to go execute that. And that was such a freeing experience. And I think one that permeates and correlates for the rest of the offensive line. That's
really cool. You mentioned Vandermark in this game. I wanted to ask you, flip things around and look at the Bills defensive line briefly, because obviously a couple really new pieces here in TJ Sanders and Deion Walker, who both splash in the opener. I mean, you've you've gone up against guys like Deion Walker, I would imagine, like that. There's not a lot of them like that move like he does at the size that he is. And it looks like that back injury. I mean, he looks like he's feeling really well the way he's firing off the ball. Watching those two guys, TJ had the really nice pressure on the Jackson Dart touchdown, got the ball out really quick, really good for the young quarterback. And then Deion Walker, just the explosiveness. What did you see watching that game?
I mean, I see guys who can come in and make immediate impacts, right? Like that's what you want to see in these early preseason games, especially from guys. This is their first time suiting up, really playing against other competition. Making those plays in your first ever game, even if you want to call it preseason, is pretty remarkable. I remember my first preseason game, first third down, I gave up a pressure hit interception. Just a fucking nightmare of a situation. To see these guys, I mean, to your point, the young man, the second rounder, right?
Sanders.
Yes, dude. He made a really nice inside move, super nimble, and then explosive toward the quarterback. A guy who I thought is going to make a big impact that I know is going to serve a suspension early on, but playing him selfishly is Larry Ogunjobi.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is a phenomenal football player. And the nice thing is you see guys like Ed Oliver, you see guys like Daquan Jones still make those impacts, do what they've done. I mean, Daquan in year 12 is still playing unbelievable football. I think he's been one of the biggest steals that Bean's been able to get in his free agency classes. And then, I mean, on the outside, dude, to have AJ Epinesa come off the bench, if that's the case, is, I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches. Pal, you get a guy like Joey Bosa in there who I think is
let me interrupt you for a second. There's parts of the fan base that like kind of look at Epinesa because, 6 sacks, waiting for like that big breakout season. But from an offensive line perspective, within the league, I think people view him much differently in terms of the problems that he creates. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's exactly the case. You can only, like, statistics don't always tell the truth. Of course you want 12, 15 sacks. Those are big playmaking, big game-changing moments. But in the run, does great, creates pressure. And I think more than anything, AJ's blossomed into this guy who's got a repertoire of pass rush moves, can beat you with speed, can beat you with power, finesse, and he really works well with the guys around him. And the thing that for him is he's got a motor on him now that doesn't quit. So you're exactly right. Offensive linemen pay the dues that he's deserved. But, of course, everyone wants these big stats, and I'm sure he does too. It helps for paydays in the future, man. You know what I mean? So, but the people who matter, front offices, and especially the Bills front office, they know exactly what they got in AJ, and it's a guy who I think is just still ascending into year, I think, was it 6 or 7 for him now? 6, right?
Yeah, 6, yeah.
I mean, just to see his.
Actually, you know what? It might be year 5. Is that crazy? Right? He was drafted in 2020, so this is year 6.
Year 6. So just to see where he's come from and how he carries himself. He's always been a fantastic person, but how he carries himself on the football field, just to see that progression is truly one of those things that you love to see.
This is year 5. I was English major, not a math major. Apologies.
Look, I'm sitting here right with you. Oh, man.
You're talking about, guys getting paid. I think that's a good transition because I want to talk to you about James Cook from a couple of perspectives. I think that you have a unique perspective in that you are a player, right? So that's obviously going to be a former player, obviously, but somebody that has been in locker rooms, that has probably been around these kinds of situations in the past, and maybe not a hold in, hold out situation, but guys wanting new deals and maybe guys not getting new deals. And, you know how valuable James is to that offense as well. From the outside looking in, as this kind of story continues to kind of percolate in the news cycle, there is no real end in sight right now. I'd be surprised if it goes past week 1, knowing 2 things. Number 1, how much I think James Cook does want to play. I don't think that he's blowing smoke when he says that. But at the same time, from a leverage perspective, if he goes into free agency next year, right, like this year is going to be a really important year for him. So getting back, getting on the field, all those kinds of things. What's your perspective on this? And like knowing both sides of it, how the Bills tend to do business. And then for James wanting what he thinks he's owed, where do you kind of land on this whole scenario?
Well, that's a great question. it's as a player, if I'm a current player there right now, I totally understand where he's coming from. Of course, I want James out there, but these days, from the outside looking in, a day seems like a lifetime, right? We still have a lot of time to get this thing done. He is a transcendent football player. If you look at what he's done for this offense, how he plays, I think his biggest attribute to me is always finding either a way to get 1 yard when there's a tackle for loss, an imminent tackle for loss, or, I mean, football just seems intuitive to him, right? Like it seems like it's easy for him. And these things where he knows how to leverage blocks. He knows where the hole is going to hit, the strength of the play. And of course, that's a testament to Cromer and such, but we understand the business aspect of this thing, right? Like I'm sure that this has been a long, arduous process, that a lot of information that we don't know. And that's kind of the fun part of speculating, right? We don't have all the information. I would be surprised if this thing isn't worked out by week 1. This is just me. I have no information on that by any means. But to your point, James Cook's there. Of course, he's held out a few times, but he's practiced a few times, and he's doing it in the most respectful way he possibly can, in my opinion, while still getting his point across. Do we want him to suit up for every practice? Sure. Do we want him to go play every preseason game that he's asked to play? Sure. But this is a business, man. Like, especially at this running back position, we're all depreciating assets when you drive us off the lot, and running backs are no exception, or the highest level of that analogy, right? Like, just some of these hits he take are brutal. So I'm rooting for the guy. I think he's owed a really good chunk of cheese. He scored 16 touchdowns, right? Like his average, his yards per carry was almost 5. It was at 4.9, less rushing yards, but 16 touchdowns is something that you can't replicate. And I think it's something that, if you look at this, he could be even more of a workhorse in this offense. Another year under Joe Brady, another wrinkle with Cromer and the position room. So we'll see how it plays out. It's just every day is going to be kind of an arduous thing where we look at this from a perspective of the outside looking in, and all have our opinions on it. But I don't think it's as big of a deal in the locker room as it's being played out, which is most instances that play out in the media.
I think that the fan reaction to things like this, it tends to be a wide range of reactions, right? There's the, oh, he's selfish, trade him, to I understand it, to I just want the Bills to sign him because he's a good player and I want the Bills to give him his money. There's all these different takes that kind of get floated out there. And I think, like, at the end of the day, where I land on it is I go back to that game against Kansas City on the road in the AFC title game. And on offense, there wasn't a player that was as valuable to that effort to win that game on the road against that team, aside from Josh Allen, as James Cook was. And in the biggest moments, sometimes the best players on teams shrink in those moments. And I felt like that was kind of a moment for James where he elevated himself. The big knock is 48% of the snaps last season, maybe not trustworthy on third down for whatever reason. I mean, if you go back to that last series, Brady in that 2-minute offense didn't have him on the field at all, whether it's a blocking concern, hands at times in his career have been an issue, although last year it wasn't. Do you think that if you were to play him 87% of the snaps, like they do with Kyron Williams down in LA, as that's the most recent extension, there's meat on the bone there for what he can maybe even still evolve into?
Honestly, I didn't know the 48% piece. It makes those numbers even more staggering, in my opinion. It makes his value even higher. I think you have to also look at a guy like Ty Johnson, who's one of my favorite running backs, and another slew of guys that can tote the rock. I mean, I wouldn't put too much into the fact that his hands or anything like that. If you, like you said, he's a playmaker, and in those big moments, you want him on the field. I bet if you ask Joe Brady, he regrets not having him out there. Like, it's a learning experience for all these folks. But the man's productive. When he gets on the field and you call a run play, you're excited. And that's all I'll say about that.
All right. Any other big takeaways from the first preseason game? I mean, there's some guys. I mean, Shavers, I think you were there for a year with him, right? Tyrell
Yeah.
Shavers, his rookie year. Doesn't say a lot. I've talked to him probably 8 times over his 3 seasons, and that's a grand total of about 8 minutes and 3 seconds of tape
Sure.
that I got with him. No, I'm just kidding. He's been great. He's always great when I get a chance to talk to him. He's got more to say than you think, and he's making a real run at it. He's somebody that, you know, year after year, he just keeps showing up and he keeps making plays. And to me, that game is a step that we're seeing in year 3 that we were waiting for in the first 2 years to translate the hot training camp to the games, right? He had the big moment late in the season last year with the 60-yard touchdown. Now it's, okay, making a couple big plays with Mitch Trubisky and a quarterback. Is he a guy that you think like could have a type of role in an offense week to week, getting a jersey every week and being a part of a game plan every week?
Yeah, I absolutely do. He is a man of few words. I would say calculated, but sometimes it has a negative connotation. Look, sometimes it just takes players longer to hit their stride. You always hear this, like this rookie year, you're figuring stuff out, and then always in year 2, you have this big leap. You still saw that, to your point, later in the season. He has this ability to take the top off of defense, be an integral part of this offense. And I think that's what makes this offense so unique, right? Like the point was discussed ad nauseum about Diggs leaving and then this offense busts wide open, right? Like everyone has an opportunity to eat in this offense. And to have a guy like Shavers come in, especially a guy that they've nurtured, kind of like a Vandy, to come in here and understand how everything's done in Buffalo, it's huge. My other takeaways is also just kind of in the grand scheme of things. One thing I always hate, and this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, is everyone's got jobs to do in training camp, right? Like this guy completed this many passes today in training camp, or this DB did whatever the hell that didn't like, or this guy lost a one-on-one pass rush. It's practice, man. If you're not supposed to mess up in practice, when the hell are you supposed to mess up? And of course, preseason games are elevated more, but what most people don't know is these guys, they played on a Saturday, had a full padded practice on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see the best version of guys. You're not going to see guys going full bore. Of course, you want to see, but that being said, you're also going to see these younger guys elevate and have these opportunities to do that. This is their Super Bowl, an opportunity to make the team. I've watched 3 preseason games this week, and all 3 of them started with an offsides penalty. Mm-hmm. It's just you're working through stuff. You're working through kinks. So what I would say to fans casually watching this, trying to find something, because this is the first time you get to watch football. This is the first time I get to actually have these are the opinions I had, and look, they're manifesting on the field. Or, oh man, this is something I wasn't expecting. Excuse me, sorry. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Take everything with a grain of salt. What you want to see is these players elevate every week, everything becoming more fine-tuned. Also, you're going to run the most basic stuff in the first preseason game. You're going to see the most vanilla things, and then you're going to see these players and plays elevate and escalate. So once you hit that second, I would say the second preseason game is when you want to see the most stuff, because then usually for the third preseason game, you might see starters rest a little bit or might play more. But I just saw guys working through some stuff, a little sloppiness, but I played 10 first preseason games, and I never left the field like, I really liked how that went. That was super fun. I loved what happened. No, it was always like, fuck, I got stuff to work on, but that's great. That's why you do it. It's a necessary evil. You get to thump against other dudes, and then when it comes to it, that week 1, you've worked through all those little kinks. I know that was a tangent for a question
I like it.
Really didn't ask. But I wanted to get that off my chest, pal. Just take it easy and ride the ride with us all.
No, I think that's good perspective, because I do think for Bills fans in particular, I've noticed like when you're good for this long, when your team's good for this long, right? There is an anxiety that builds, a fear that builds that, like, you get only so many shots at this with, the quarterback, the all-world, all-time quarterback, like in his prime years. And obviously the story of the Buffalo Bills, year 1 through 7 of Josh Allen, would make an unbelievable movie. I mean, right? Go back to the 13 seconds game and the DeMar Hamlin situation and all of the back and forth with Patrick Mahomes, and you were a part of most of them. And so I think as you build the house, and moments are these bricks over the years, all these little moments in the arc of it, on the heels of 17 years of no playoffs. Yeah. I feel like everything is just elevated, like emotions are elevated, reactions are elevated. And now we're in year 8, and there's a serious Super Bowl window that has been open now for many years, that I think that there's just this restlessness with it. And when you keep trying to get over the hump and you don't get over the hump, I think that elevates it even more. You know, Sean McDermott's been in the crosshairs of a lot of it. Bean, I feel like this year, the last 6 months have been like, if I was like having a rolling approval rating, Beans has been the lowest it's been since he drafted Josh Allen, I feel like, which is, I think, odd considering all of the hits that he's had over the course of his time. Sure. What do you make of all that? Like, as I kind of paint that picture, and your thoughts on Sean as the head coach, because I think that's where a lot of people go, like, oh, the Bills are never going to get over the hump with Sean as the head coach. You have been in the battles with him, and you know him just about as well as anybody would know him, just being on his team for so many years. Where's your level of faith in him?
It's never wavered, to be honest. What I think that people know is that Sean McDermott does what he thinks is best for the team and has never put himself in a position where he's trying to second guess what he's doing. He's always trying to grow. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's something that I saw, which was kind of cool as a player. Also, I had a lot of maturing to do as a professional, growth as a professional, and to see him kind of go through that same path. And I think he's yearning for it. Every day he wakes up thinking about, how can I be a better coach and how can I put my players in a position to succeed? You, as a fan base, this is a privilege to have these emotions, have these feelings. Of course, on the cusp of going to Super Bowls is an emotionally taxing thing for a fan base. But to have those opportunities, to have those feelings are not, I wouldn't say they're fleeting, of course, because windows, like you said, do close. But there's a reason that we have these feelings, and that's because of the team that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane built with a quarterback in a quarterback-driven league that carries this team more often than not only on the field, but off the field. He garners relationships with players and has just these moments with these guys that you truly want to go to battle for. It's an interesting analogy with the bricks. I really did enjoy that. I as a player, I as a fan now yearn for these guys to go to the Super Bowl, yearn for this team, this organization, this city. I mean, it would be lit on fire like that. You talk about Philly greasing up poles. Like, dude, you better bring the fucking fire department if the Bills win the Super Bowl for the parade. And it's felt, believe me, in the locker room. This isn't something that I've been on teams where you get in the playoffs and you're like, this has been a grueling ass season, dude. We've been doing this for so long. I just want to go home. Sorry, my this is not professional. It's going.
That's all right. You're getting a fax in. That's the only thing, like, right now, right? Like, I'm still
figuring this out. Let's see what the printer said. Nothing. All that for nothing.
Oh, where are you, by the way? Are you in like a little cove, like on the outside?
Yeah, it does look kind of like a cove. Man, that is embarrassing. All right. Well, what I was saying was that the players also feel this angst that the fans feel. And I think that's a special thing about Buffalo is that the players and fans are so intertwined together. Just from you're going out to dinner, the fans take care of you as much as you try to take care of them. So it's a great question. And it's a great point. I wouldn't lose faith in the folks that have gotten you here thus far because, believe me, no one's losing sleep more than those folks in that building trying to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo.
Can I ask you? I can ask you a million questions, but like this
Come on, I'm retired. I don't have to wake up for shit.
Does Sean get tight in the big moments?
I don't think so. I think he's been in a position where he's had a few big moments, and he's accrued those big moments, and he's accrued that emotional and technical knowledge in those big moments to preach freeness in those moments. I think especially towards the back half of my career, when we get to these big games, that of course you don't want to try to make them bigger in the season, because even when you get to the playoffs, what you do is you try to follow the memorandum, follow the code, follow whatever you want to call it, the recipe that got you to where you are. Of course, everything's heightened in those big games because you've earned that right. You're playing a tremendous team in a game where the stakes are the highest. But whenever we hit those, especially towards the later part of my career, coach's message always was be yourself, be free. The last thing we want you to do is be afraid to make mistakes, because that's when you play tentatively, and you can't play tentatively in this game. You can't be tentative in how you diagnose the game. You can't be tentative in trying to attack. You know, if you make those mistakes, we'll come off on the sideline, kind of like we alluded to with Cromer. We'll have those conversations, we'll make the adjustments, and then we'll get on there. I think it's one of those things that you just kind of have to go through, and Sean at this point has gone through a bunch of those and has that in his back pocket.
Yeah, I like that, because I was a big NBA guy growing up. The Bills were like the biggest thing in my house, but like I was just like a huge NBA fan. And I think back to like some of those like early 2000s teams, like Nowitzki's Mavericks, and like even like Nash's Suns. And like they had to go through those epic like moments. And some teams never got over the hump. I mean, you think about some of those Sacramento Kings teams that were just so good. I mean, Peyton Manning's Colts teams, right? Like year after year trying to get over the hump. It's 32 teams are trying to win it, and one gets to every single season. And it kind of stinks, I guess, from a Bills fan's perspective, that you're living in this era of not only Mahomes, because that would be one thing, but now you're in this gauntlet of you got Mahomes in the Chiefs, Burrow in the Bengals, Lamar in the Ravens. It's deep. And I think that's like the biggest frustration, is just like getting back to that game. And the Bills went to 4 in a row. It seemed like so easily in the 90s. It created this kind of a like illusion to how hard it actually is.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, the AFC is a gauntlet of quarterbacks, and it's frustrating to think about, because you can bring your best sometimes, and you make one little mistake and everything goes awry. I mean, think of Mark Andrews, how he felt. Like this would be a whole different conversation if he had made that catch, right? Mm-hmm. But we have players that make those big plays in those big moments, like a Josh Allen, who in the playoffs plays his best football, a James Cook, who comes down to Kansas City, plays his ass off. The Bills do seem like they might be in a little playoff purgatory, but it's just one of those things you chomp at the bit. And it's what makes this game so beautiful, man. You can put everything into it. It's what makes wins so incredibly, hard to do, or, hard to accrue, and also makes them so joyous. I mean, a locker room after a win is remarkable. And even the fans feel it, right? Like it's the truth. So, yeah, I wish I had some magic potion or some pill that I could take and tell you exactly what the Bills need to do. But sometimes it's just, you got to play your best football the best time. And even when you do it, sometimes those guys on the other side play even better football. So I think the biggest thing to do is try to win the division and get that opportunity to play at home, because Highmark this year is going to be, talk about on fire, dude. The place is going to be nuts. I saw how many, after 1 o'clock games you have, night games, the EMTs are going to be called quite a bit for just some drunks, dude. And I kind of want to be a part of it. So I'm going to come up there and see if I can't get lit up a little bit too. I've never tailgated before.
Dude.
So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go check it out. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convince the Bills to give me a camera.
Okay.
To go out there and just kind of like be a part of Bills Mafia. But I know that they would probably not be able to use an ounce of footage, because it's just me ripping shots, cursing. If after a few drinks, if there's a cigarette, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I got some news for you. I got cameras. I got some cameras you can borrow. Get you out there.
I could be on my P's and Q's for the Bills, but I could also just lose it. Holy Spirit take over, dude. Hot dogs, ketchups, pizzas, and dude. Yeah,
that's all. So
I want to see it.
Has there been plans about like legends of the game? Like, are they still doing that? I don't even know if that's still.
I don't know. I don't know. I've thought about what that would be like. That'd be, of course, tremendous. You see guys do that when you're playing, and you always think of what an honor that is. Truly.
Is there one that you think back to when you're standing in the tunnel down there that you were like, oh wow, that was a pop?
Sometimes it's not the player that comes back. Sometimes it's the game. I think of usually the games that have the worst conditions, the colder the game. The more snow there is. Everyone's just lit up, dude. And every time, like I think Mark Levy came back and did it once, that place was on fire, as it should be. Congratulations being 100 years old. That's a tremendous feat. And to coin the phrase and then come out and do that was a really special deal. So if I had to think of one person that did that, I think when Mark came out and did that, that was a really, really awe-inspiring thing to see.
Whenever the Bills play that one, whether it's on social media or in the stadium, it gets me because that was my entire childhood. So it's pretty cool. So last thing before I let you get out of here, I'm walking through, Frontierland, my way to Tiana's a couple months ago. Sure. Lo and behold, do I just see a majestic beard across the way, plotting his way, sweating his ass off, walking through just doing the thing at Disney World. And what amazes me when you see people that at Disney World, it's like there's hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people throughout all the different parks. So the randomness of seeing, I got another story. Get ready for this. I'm getting ready to get on Frozen in February at Epcot. Walking through the line, I'm in Lightning Lane, and I will go around the last end.
Subtle flex, nice.
Yeah, you got to do the Lightning Lane.
Nice. Very well done.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Very well done.
All of a sudden, I kind of bump arms with somebody, and the guy he's bald, and immediately I went to the kind of gray silverish beard. I'm like, that's Sean freaking McDermott right there.
Oh, he was down there
in line at Frozen. And now every time we've seen each other since, we share some of our favorite moments from Disney World.
Now, was he a Lightning Lane guy? Let's be honest. He had the VIP. He
was in the regular Lightning Lane. He was doing it like everybody else.
Man of the people. That should tell you.
A lot of respect for that.
A lot of respect for that. It's stupid. He should have spent the tree. He's got the money. He should do. It's ridiculous. But right. So to your point, I was sweating my ass off. But it is the masses that really puts you not off, but I was in New York City for the first time a few weeks ago, and I thought I was going to be more than Disney World going through folks like front all those. Disney's a savage place for people because first of all, you have these people who have spent so much time, resources, money to get there. They have this is their moment to really take it all in and go for it. And so these folks have no regard. They're taking out kids. I'm dodging and weaving. I'm throwing my daughter away from, folks chomping down a turkey leg. But your subconscious, even in these masses, it will tell you this person, like something about this person right here. This person. And it took me a little bit, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's Matt. And I didn't tell my wife because it happened so fast. So I kind of had this like, oh. And then we had this very strange guttural conversation with, I think, a few jabs, maybe a hug, said some weird stuff. And then we kind of like spazzed out for a bit, and then we're both have places to be. So we're like, okay, see you. My wife goes, what the hell was that? I was like, oh, no, that was Matt, the guy from Buffalo. He's like, oh, that's cool. He's like, do you want to go talk to him? I'm like, no, he's already halfway there. He's got shit to do. I got shit to do. But it doesn't take stuff away from how, like, that was such a good moment.
Yes.
It was a magical moment in a magical place. But then we both had to get going.
Yeah.
We both had stuff to, especially you. You were doing a fucking nuts 24 hours deal.
Yeah.
That made my balls itch a little bit. I was like, oh, Jesus. But when it was your anniversary, right?
It was 15 years.
Dale, congratulations. That deserves a trip to Disney, man. And my whole family's got seasonal passes. Except for myself, because I was a little bit preoccupied when they got those originally. But it's a 2.5 hour jaunt down there. So we were just there, and we stayed at Animal Kingdom. And my poor daughter, she wakes up. We have the room that has the giraffe. So I wake up. I'm like, Kennedy, there's a giraffe outside. Gets up, trips, breaks her arm.
Oh no!
Poor girl. And of course, as a parent, you're like, you're fine. You're fine. She's like, it's broken. I'm like, you've said that 100 times, sis. Yeah. It's not broken.
Get back.
So the rest of they just kind of hold her, like, take pictures with the tortoise, and she's like, and then lo and behold, she broke her arm, dude. So to feel like a piece of shit parent is an understatement. But it was at the most magical place in the world, and she's dying to go back. So she showed up to kindergarten. She's got this cast right here, just like her old man. Her elbows all bent out of shape. You know what I mean? Just it's a beautiful thing. But it was such a beautiful moment when we saw you, pal. I wish I'd given you more dues, but it's so hard to explain. We both had places to go.
Heck yeah, man. Sometimes when you're in the magical place, you just got to do a quick drive by and say, see you on the other side, brother, and get back to business, right? Yeah, because we all had to get, if I would have caused you to miss the lightning lane for whatever was next, I would never have been able to live with myself. So you just move right up.
Let's be honest, with your wife there, if you had missed a lightning lane, I would have probably been harmed physically for 24 hours. I mean, you have 24 hours. You would have been a tough deal. But
she was up at 7 a.m. that morning making sure it was all good to go.
Totally. So, as the ladies do, man. They take care of it. But it was a pleasure because I don't know if I'd ever met your wife before. And I know it was kind of in passing, just wildly.
Caitlin. Her name's Caitlin. Your wife's name is Caitlin?
So dude.
Yes.
It was a magical place, magical moment. Matt, I appreciate having me on, my friend. You're the best, buddy.
Dude, this has been great. Maybe we'll do it again. Before you get out of here, what's coming up? Like, there's no football, there's no practice, there's no games. What do you got going on the next couple of months?
Well, so that's a great question. You know, they let me on to Good Morning Football a few times, just kind of like a Make-A-Wish deal for an old retired guy. Not to take away anything from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I've said that a few times, and it's gotten south. It's just how I describe it. But I was hoping to go up there and scratch the itch and then be like, all right, I'm good. I'm done. But I remember the first day on set afterwards, I calling my wife and being like, this is a real problem. I really enjoy this. And maybe it's my ego. I thought I didn't have an ego. I thought I was going to have this ego death. And no, I have a terribly inflated ego that makes me want to sit in front of a camera and talk about shit that I really don't know about. But I'll do it. I'll fucking do it, dude, all day. So that being said, I think I'm going to kick off a podcast here in the next few weeks. See how it goes. It could fail horribly, but I have someone in my corner, Casey. His name's Casey here. Great guy. And we'll see. We've got a few guys lined up, I think. A lot of Buffalo heavy at first, but could go outside of the AFC East for a bit and just chat. And we'll see. Hopefully it'll be kind of a fun deal. Of course, you want to be somewhat informative, football heavy, but also just kind of have some fun, chew the fat, get some stuff off your chest. So we'll see how it goes, but we're super excited for it. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it here soon because I'm going to need every tidbit I can get. I mean, I can't have my printer going off halfway through. What the hell is this, man? Oh,
yeah. We got it.
Yeah, at my desk, I do this. There we go. I mean, I just sneeze. And so I got stuff to figure out. So I appreciate you helping me out here. It's a baptism by fire, buddy.
Dude, this has been absolutely awesome. I can't wait to check out the podcast. And, dude, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, well, the last thing the world needs is another podcast in the saturated market. So I thought I might as well give it a go and see what happens. But, yeah, Matt, thank you so much, pal. It was great seeing you at Disney. Hopefully we can spend more than 30 seconds together next time you're down here. But I'll talk to you soon, pal.
All right, brother. Take care.
See you, buddy.